أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. So this is our fourth discussion, and we are as if turning around the same thing, like making a tawaf. So we started with in the name of God, and our claim was everything in this existence acts in the name of God. And then in the second week, we started questioning what is belief in the unseen mean. And last week, we were talking about reading the existence as a book. And this week, now we are going to talk about what does this Tawheed mean. So it's a very fundamental concept that Qur'an teaches us. What does it mean? So the translation of Tawheed would mean divine unity. But it requires a lot more explanation. It was actually once I remember asking to a friend, saying, what is divine unity? He said, yeah, it's a very vague concept. I mean, it's not a very vague concept for sure, but our understanding might be blurry what it is. And in our journey, we are trying to go dig deeper about such concepts. So this would be the topic that we will cover for today. And so before we start, we can question in ourselves, what does it mean when we say there is one God? What do we mean by saying that there is one God? Is it like we are counting and saying that there is one with number, or what? So this would be the frame of our discussion. And again, this is going to be a building block for the discussions to come. So, yeah, we need somebody to read. Last week, who read? Was it?
Also.
You read? Okay, so it was a sister. Okay, then now it's a brother's turn. Abdurrahman, would you like to read us the first verses?
The English?
Arabic also, if you can.
I can try it.
Give it a try.
الله خالق كل شيء وهو على كل شيء وكيل له مقاليد السماوات والأرض. God is the creator of all things, and he is the guardian and disposer of all affairs. To him belong the keys of the heavens and the earth. Quran 39, 62, 63. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. So glory to him in whose hands is the sovereignty of all things, and to him will you all be brought back. Quran 36, 83. وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا عِندَنَا خَزَائِنُهُ وَمَا نُنَزِّلُهُ إِلَّا بِقَدْرٍ مَّعْلُومٍ. And there is not a thing but its sources and treasures inexhaustible are with us. But we only send down thereof in due and ascertainable measures. Quran 15:21. مَا مِن دَابَّةٍ إِلَّا هُوَ آخِذٌ بِنَاصِيَتِهَا إِنَّ رَبِّي عَلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. There is not a moving creature, but he has grasp of its forelock. Verily, it is my sustainer that is on a straight path. Quran 11:56.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the verses. Then we will mainly study the first flash today. And by the way, today we are studying the 22nd word, second station from the words of mercy. So the first verse, God is the creator of all things, and he is the guardian and disposer of all affairs. To him belong the keys of the heavens and the earth. What does this remind you of? Let's talk about this a little bit. What does this verse imply to you? Creator of all things. What is this all things? Everything. So for example, does this all include world, Earth, globe of Earth, and the sun? Okay. How about, does this all include, let's say, rivers or the rain? The rain that is falling. Is rain included in all? Okay. What else?
Also include us.
That's it?
Include us.
Us. Us meaning what? For example, when you breathe.
Prefer to think as a soul.
As a soul. So before coming to the soul, let's say your mundane actions, breathing, is it God creating it or something else is creating it? Or let's give my favorite example over here. So when we say, for example, this phone, who is creating this action now, for instance? Is God creating this or who is creating that? And the verse is claiming that God creates everything, all affairs. Now, who is the creator of this affair? Reading the verse again. God is the creator of all things, and he is the guardian and disposer of all affairs.
The ayah is true. I mean, anything that exists is created.
Yeah.
By definition.
Good. So this is a very good question, actually. If the verse is true, then this must be the case, right? So last week we were talking about verses as guidance. So how shall we now approach this verse then? If this is a guidance, how shall we approach this? Shall we say that since this is speech of God, it must be true? Or how would you? So last week we were giving the example of a signpost. So from New York, we were planning to come to Philadelphia, and we saw a signpost which says Philadelphia on it. We took it as a guidance. So what did we do when we take it as a guidance? We give it a try. Sorry. Okay. Good. So it's okay. So a signpost would mean, so let's give it a try. Let's follow the signpost to Philadelphia and see if it's correct or not. So if it's correct, then you say that, yeah, the signpost was correct. But if it is wrong, then you end up being in DC maybe, or you went to Boston, and then you say, oh, this signpost was wrong. But the only way to know if it's true or not is you follow the signpost and you see if it works or not. So this verse is saying that God is the creator of all things and he is the guardian and disposer of all affairs. And since this is part of all, like this falling down, does it really mean that God is creating this? No? You don't think so? Well, yeah, I mean, this is an option, right? And why don't you think so, for instance?
I think he creates or give us the freedom to give us the opportunity to have to be free and do this kind of thing. So it's your decision to do that.
No. The part that I'm asking is, I'm going to leave it free, but it doesn't stand up here. It falls down.
The gravity.
Yeah, gravity. So is it gravity that's creating that or God creating that? And that question I'm asking, not that am I choosing to release it or not this part of it. And this is something to be discussed for sure. but let's postpone it. First, something that are more clear to see, because when it comes to my choices, something to be discussed, but let's leave it to a later discussion. For now, let's take the easy case. What makes this? Gravity. Or is it gravity? What is making this? The verse is claiming that God does everything. But we claim that gravity does it. So,
I feel like gravity is a pattern that we notice in Allah's actions, God's actions, that we named it gravity, so it's not gravity that's doing the thing, but it's a concept that we created to understand the things that God does. And then it says he's the guardian of that, so he guards the things that he does, and the guardian of all these ideas that we try to use to understand what he does.
very good. So if I were to play the devil's advocate, and if I ask you, what if God is not the concept that you created, but what is your evidence that God is acting, but not gravity? So is it like just a change of names? Somebody's saying gravity is doing, I am saying God is doing. What makes me say that God is doing? Right? Is it clear? So, yes, I mean, we can say, reading the verse, this would be a correct explanation, but what makes one explanation better than the other explanation? So how do I know that God is doing it, but not gravity is doing it, right? But you're right. I mean, this would solve the problem. But we need to come up with an explanation for what do we mean by when we say God is doing it. And he even says, to him belong the keys of the heavens and the earth. To God belongs the keys of heavens and the earth. What does that imply? What is heavens? Any idea? Or keys of the earth? So,
By heavens, are you talking about the universes, or are you just talking about Jannah?
it says samawat. So heavens, not the Jannah. Jannah is a different word, but it says
universes.
yeah. So this is the word samawat, so the heavens. The verse is saying that God has the keys for them, whatever that means. And let's keep that as a question. And while we are reading it, these are going to be the verses that we will be studying throughout the text somehow. But I guess now is question starting to become a little bit clearer, as we are trying to understand. Although, let's say if you're a believer, you certainly say that, yeah, God does everything. But this simple question, what does this? And if you say gravity, why is it gravity? If you say God does it, why is it God? So in both cases, we have still questions. Who is doing it? So the second verse, so glory to him in whose hands is the sovereignty of all things, and to him will you all be brought back. So he says, in his hands is the sovereignty of everything, as if he is the controller of everything. And again, the word everything is in there. So, why? How can I verify truthfulness of such a claim? Again, signpost. Yeah, this is a signpost that says Philadelphia is there. How do I know Philadelphia is there? Somebody can say Philadelphia is not there. Why Philadelphia is not there? Somebody says, yes, Philadelphia is really there. Why Philadelphia is really there? Still, we have questions for both. The third verse, and there is not a thing, but its sources and treasures inexhaustible are with us, but we only send down thereof in due and ascertainable measures. Mm-hmm. So this verse is saying that whatever comes, we send it down with a certain measure. Can you think of an example for that?
Rain.
Rain is coming down. with a certain measure, it says. What is the measure in rain? Do you see any measure in rain? I don't know. Whatever the measure might mean in there. So if you were to take the example of rain for this verse, what sort of a measure do you observe there? You gave the example, I didn't.
Yeah, that's my fault.
No, it's a good example, but what is the measure in there? Do you see any things coming up with a measure in the rain?
So we can measure how much rain, right?
Roughly.
Does that not roughly? Yeah. That.
Yeah.
That's all.
So it's saying that the sources are within us. So where is the sources of rain? God is saying that whatever comes down, its resources are with us.
Mhm.
But where's the resource of rain? Sea.
Yeah.
They are down. What does this verse mean? When he says, I am the source, or the sources of everything is with us, and we send it down with a measure. How am I going to take this as a guidance, right? Rain is a very good example, but how do I apply this guidance to the example of rain? This would be a question. But when we can apply this, we will clearly see that this verse is so beautifully explaining the phenomenon. But we need to find out how it is explaining the phenomenon. This is the question that I'm trying to trigger. Okay. And the last verse, there is not a moving creature, but he has grasped, he, like in capital, God, has grasped of its forelock. Maybe I should say, I'm rereading it. There is not a moving creature, but he has grasp of its forelock. Verily, it is my sustainer that is on a straight path. It says, there's nothing with a small moving creature, it says. It's forelock. Forelock, you can think of it like either from here or like the reins of an animal. So as if the reins of this moving creature is being held by the Creator. Can you come up with an example of a moving creature? Is this a moving creature? Or maybe an electron? Electrons are moving. So this verse is saying that anything that is moving, he has the reins of it. How does an electron move? Move by itself? Maybe not. So such a question that we need to ask. How does an electron move then? Or how does the earth move? Earth is also moving. Moon is moving, right? Mm-hmm. How does a moon move? Somehow it started moving once, and now it keeps moving. Is this an explanation? Is this a valid explanation? Because the verse is saying that, is moon moving? Yes, it is moving. Then the verse says, then we are keeping its reins. So the claims are very big, but it looks like our education might not be going in line with what these verses are claiming. Because electron moves by itself, moon moves by itself, or rain drops down because the water vapor hits the cold air and it comes down again by itself according to a law of nature. A lot of explanations we have, which doesn't have anything about divine. These verses are claiming that no, there is divine and only one divine, meaning that everything is within his hand. It's not that there are multiple things that are acting. Because if we say electron is turning by itself, then every electron is turning by itself. Meaning that there are so many agents acting. These verses are saying that no, there is only a single one that is acting. So how are you going to accept this idea? Right? Because what's happening is, to be a little bit more frank, what I experienced myself. So especially with the modern day education, we start with primary school, secondary school, high school, college. And if you are born into a religious family, doesn't matter if you are a Muslim or Christian family, what happens is our minds are buying into the idea that electron spins by itself, moon turns around the earth by itself. Yet, when somebody asks me, how does all these things happen? What do I say? Yeah, there's a God, he does everything. This is what my heart says. But this is why when I was asking the question to people saying that, how does it rain? And they were saying, would you like a scientific answer or a religious answer? So as if the two answers are separate. And we are in generally such a split condition. Sometimes a half of me says everything is done by him. The other half of me says, yeah, of course. I mean, it rains because of this. The phone falls because of gravity, and the formula is this, whatever, m1 times m2 divided by r squared. And this is the formula for that, and times k, some constant of, I don't know, a man's name. So this is what's going on in here. This would be the topic, our topic today. How does it, to formulate it, how does an electron spin? We are trying to find an answer to that. Okay. So, Abdurrahman, would you like to keep reading until a reminder within the first point?
In this treatise, I shall try to explain 12 flashes from the sun of belief in God, the principal pole of the pillars of belief. First flash. The affirmation of divine unity is of two sorts. For example, if the goods of a rich man arrive in a market or a town, there are two ways in which one may know they are his. One is briefly and simply, and as with ordinary people, which is, no one apart from him is capable of owning this vast amount of goods. But when under the supervision of a common man such as that, much of it may be stolen. Many others may claim ownership of parts of it. The second sort is this. Through reading his writing on every packet, recognizing his signature on every roll, and seeing his seal on every bill, the man declares everything belongs to that person. Here, everything in effect shows the important man. Similarly, the affirmation of divine unity, Tawheed, is of two sorts. One is a superficial and common affirmation of divine unity, which says, Almighty God is one. He has no partner or like. This universe is his. The second is a true affirmation of divine unity, which, through seeing on everything the stamp of his power, the seal of his dominicality, and the inscriptions of his pen, is to open a window directly onto his light from everything, and to conform and believe with almost the certainty of seeing it that everything emerges from the hand of his power, and that in no way has he any partner or assistant in his Godhead, or in his dominicality, or in his sovereignty, and thus to attain to a sort of perpetual awareness of the divine presence. In this word, we shall mention rays demonstrating this pure and elevated true affirmation of divine unity.
Thank you. So, Omar, what do you think about the first example that he gave? Like he said two sorts, in two ways you can know who is the owner. Just, can you, with your own words, help us understand what's going on here?
I can try. Which example is it?
So initially he said that goods of a rich man arrive in the market or a town.
Oh, okay. The goods of a rich man arrive in the market. I don't understand the second part, where it says, but when under the supervision of a common man, such as that, much of it may be stolen.
Hmm.
So the first part is, how do you, like, I'm trying to understand this, is how do you know it's his good? Because nobody else can have goods like that except for this man. So it's thinking either he's really rich and he has a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
and people know he has a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
or he has very specific type of things that nobody else has in the market. But I don't understand the second part.
Yeah. The second part was things can be stolen in the supervision of such
Common.
men,
Common man.
common men. So it's like, let's say I am, since we are in the university, let's use a university example. So let's say I know that in computer science, Knuth is a big name. So somebody brings up a theory or a theorem, and I say, wow, this theorem must have been invented by Knuth, because I know that this is like this genius man, whatever, he found a lot of things. Yeah, most likely he found it. Or if it was physics, somebody comes up with a theorem, I say, oh, it must be Einstein. So, but somebody from there comes up and says that, yeah, Einstein was a great man, but I invented this. And I would say, yeah, I mean, since I'm not very knowledgeable, yeah, you invented this. I agree with that. And then somebody else comes and says that, well, I invented this other thing. Yeah, it's yours. So I start saying that this is yours, this is yours. And even somebody will come up and say that, well, this relativity, this, I invented this. Even I would say maybe Einstein or you. So even for the things that I must have been sure, since I am not knowledgeable about that, people are going to be taking it away. But for the second guy, second sort of person, now this person is aware of the, let's say, the scientist, and knows that in every paper, in every theorem, oh, there's a signature of this scientist. This is his style. So if somebody tries to come up and say that I invented this, you say, no, see, this is the signature of such and such scientist. It's not your name, it's this person's name. But in order to be able to say that, I will need to know, I will be able to read those names in there. Otherwise, broadly speaking, anything in physics is invented by Einstein is going to be very much like a popular culture answer. So how does it apply to belief? Because he used it as an example for belief. What would be the common man's approach for belief versus an educated perspective for belief? Any ideas?
Maybe a common person, maybe you could say like the fact that all this whole universe exists and it's all in order and everything works in parts. Like somebody much greater than a human must have created this.
Yeah.
Like looking at it in a big picture.
Yes.
The other man looks like in detail at each and everything he sees.
This would be how, let's take the case for today's discussion, for instance. At the beginning of discussion, if I were to ask who created things, and in this room everybody is a believer, and then you would say God creates everything, no doubt. But I would ask this question, who makes this? Then it happens according to gravity. Then how about the rain? Yeah, it is because of the cold air. How about the earth, moon spinning around the earth? Yeah, it is because of the law of mass. So what am I doing step by step now? Rain, initially it was everything was God's, right? Now rain is part of law that I attributed to cold air hitting the water molecule. Foam falling down, now it is because of gravity. Then I asked the question, how come a new baby born? It's because of DNA replication and the cell split and everything. So baby is going to happen because of this. So what is left for God? These are all being stolen, right? Now, previously, in my overall understanding, everything was from God. But now, let's say the creation of a baby is because of DNA. Now, it's not God's anymore. So it's stolen. Gravity stole something. Some other laws stole something. Somebody would say, well, it's by chance. The first cell was formed by chance, then it evolved, something else is gone. And then you look, nothing is left, everything is stolen. So the first one, the author is saying that it is superficial and common affirmation of divine unity. It sounds very pious. It says, Almighty God is one, He has no partner or like. This universe is His. He even says He has no partner. But gravity became His partner, isn't it? Like when we say this falls because of gravity. What does a partner of God look like? What do you think? Because it is a central part of Quranic teaching. He has no partner. La sharika lah. What does a partner of God look like? What do you think? Why are we negating such a thing? Any ideas? What does partner of God might be? Gravity, I gave one example. Gravity might be a partner of God because God initially in the verses was claiming that I am doing this job of pulling it, right? But now I am saying it's not God that is pulling the phone. Gravity is pulling the phone, as if, okay, this job, gravity, you do it. I will do something else, you do it. What else? So something has power other than God is going to be God's partner. So gravity, one of them.
More generally, like there are some attributes that only belong to Allah, and there are some that Allah has that we can also reflect. So if there are things that belong only to Allah, and we say that someone else or something else has that, and that's
So, for example, power,
depends what kind of
like gravity, is apparently power. So, does gravity take this attribute of God or what?
For me, partner of God would be something I worship, but is not God. Like gravity, maybe I can worship it in some way. I can believe it, like it's the creator. That would be a partner in God in my perspective.
Because it's doing some job. The verses were saying that we do everything, I do everything. The verse was saying that I do everything. Everything is in my hand. But now gravity is taking part of this job and saying that no, I do part of it. Because to Him only things belong. This is the general message of the Quran. But now, what is this gravity in there? What's it doing there? Or what does a cloud do? What gives me rain? Is God giving me the rain or the cloud is giving me the rain? Because the verse was saying that we have its sources. But the source of rain is a cloud. And from cloud it is sea, from sea it is make a cycle. Where's this rain coming from?
I think it's like comparable to the FedEx example that you used. One of them. Like the cloud is like a means, but like the essence of the rain isn't from the cloud, it's from God. It's just that there's a delivery, there's middle points in between that. So like, yeah, you can, like what you're saying, you can think that delivery guy can be
Because they don't have the, what was the example in the FedEx, if you would like to remind us?
They don't have the means to buy $1,000.
Different. Yeah. So let's say the rain is coming from the cloud, and what is required, the rain is a good example. In your childhood, most likely this happened to you, it happened to me. In the middle of night, you wake up as a 5-year-old kid, you're afraid, and you shout, "Father, water." Okay? So this strong man with the shout of a 5-year-old. Mothers, okay, understandable, but we are not talking about father, more rigid guy. So he wakes up in the middle of night, goes to the kitchen, gets a cup of water, and brings it to you. So what is the doer of this action? Is it the shouting, the sound? Because this is what is triggering all the action, right? The sound, if you investigate it, the sound in 10 decibel was in the house, then everything started happening. So was it the strength of sound that did all the job? So is it like the sound is driving everything? Not really, because this sound doesn't have, the action requires what? Somebody needs to be very merciful, because this is an act of mercy. Somebody needs to care about this baby, right? Like 5-year-old. So the sound is not able to care for the baby. So there needs to be someone, some merciful person, who is going to act so that the water is going to come. And the water itself doesn't come. So this is why we say, oh, then this man who is acting is understanding the need and then bringing the water to the child. How about the rain? Animals are in need of rain. Plants are in need of rain. And they're calling for rain. But what is bringing the rain? I remember when I was in primary school, our teacher was saying that, I don't know how scientific it was, but this is what he was teaching us. He was saying that forests attract rain. Forests attract rain. This is why in my city, the mountains were all walled, no tree, whatever. He was saying that we should plant trees to those mountains so that our city is going to attract more rain. And I was thinking, how come? We are very far from the sea. If we plant trees in there, the trees are going to attract rain. What does that mean? As if the child is going to shout at night, water, water, water will never come. No matter how many times the child shouts to the water to come, water will never come. Unless and until there is somebody who hears the cry of this child to bring the water. So such questions we should ask ourselves. Is water really coming from clouds? If it's not coming from clouds, then where is it coming from? So this classification in here is saying that, yeah, in the first one, you can, closing your eyes, you can say that, yeah, God is creating everything. But in practice, things are being distributed to things other than God. How about the second, true affirmation of divine unity? What does this imply? Practically, how would you, what would it mean to have true affirmation of divine unity, true tawheed? What would it mean?
It's similar to what you were talking about in the past few weeks, where someone can see a piece of paper and think that it's just ink. Like if they don't know how to read it, they don't know how to read it. So likewise, if someone can't read these signatures, like the way these are created, you have to have that in order to see that all these different things are from the same source. And they're not sufficient.
Yeah. So when you see rain, for example, what would it mean to say that true, true affirmation of divine unity in the case of rain? What would it mean? Or in the example of this phone falling down, what would it mean to say that true affirmation of divine unity? Saying that, oh, yeah, I am 100% sure it is one God who is doing this action. What would that mean? Because the author's claim is very big in here. He's saying that, okay, let's read it again. Through seeing on everything the stamp of his power. Stamp of his power. So, not anything else's power, but his power. The seal of his dominicality. Because what other dominicality means? His rulership. He is the acting agent. When we say global warming, for instance, who is the acting agent in there? It's global. Everybody is acting here. Like everybody's contributing to this. It's warming up globally. Who's the acting agent there? Maybe the author is wrong, or we are badly wrong. I don't know. We are trying to understand. So the seal of his dominicality, the inscriptions of his pen. We talked about pen last week, right? So have you ever seen a pen, we were asking last week, in this universe? As if God is writing something. So do I observe such a pen? Again, a question, keep in mind. Open a window directly onto his light from everything. Does this mean anything to you? Opening a window from everything to God's light. So think about it this way. Last week we were given the example of a text like this. So if I don't know reading whatsoever, every letter was just a letter for me. But if I understand something, I understand reading and the sentences. So as if now a sentence becomes like a window to me, which opens up to see what's beyond. It's not ink anymore. It is a meaning, it's something that opens up a window to another domain. So can you open up a window from everything to the Creator directly? Directly part is underlined. What does directly mean? To understand what directly means, let's talk about indirectly. So let me give you an example. So when we ask the question, how does these things happen? Say, yeah, the world was initially part of the sun. Sun was initially from part of something else. We go all the way back to Big Bang, and we say, yeah, this is where God was acting. God made the Big Bang. Then everything started happening one after the other. This happened because of that. That happened because of that. So very indirectly, we say that there has to be a God, right? This is why Big Bang is a big thing in the believers of all different denominations. Muslims, Christians are very happy with Big Bang theory because it explains that there has to exist a God. But this is a very indirect thing, right? God created it once, he exploded the thing, the matter, but it's happening, one is happening because of the other. A very indirect way, a very indirect window, if you like. But the author in here is saying that true affirmation of divine unity means if you take a phone and it drops, this should open up a window for oneness of God. Does it? This is what it means. From anything and everything, directly you can see that oh, if this is happening, there has to exist a God. It cannot happen otherwise. This is what it means. This is what Quran is claiming in here, actually. If you see this happening, so there has to exist a God there. It cannot happen otherwise. Okay, let's keep reading. These are still all claims. We didn't come to explanations. Okay, and to confirm and believe with almost the certainty of seeing it, that everything emerges from the hand of his power. Confirm and believe with almost the certainty of seeing it, that everything emerges from his hand of power directly. This is what such a tawheed would mean. Next one is, I guess, the trickier part. And that in no way has he any partner or assistant in his Godhead, or in his dominicality, or in his sovereignty. Why is he making these distinctions? Like, what does it mean that he doesn't have any partner in uluhiyya, rububiyya? What was the third one? Mulk. In his sovereignty. So he doesn't have any partner in his godness. He doesn't have any partner in his dominion.
The issue is lordship.
Lordship?
Lordship.
Yeah, lordship, right. The second one should be his lordship. He doesn't have any partner in his sovereign. Why is he making this distinction? Any ideas? Is it just a repetition of the same word 3 times?
What was the Arabic?
Uluhiyya, rububiyya, and mulk.
2 different things, I think.
Yeah, there are 3 different things. So why is he specifically saying that he doesn't have any partner in any of these? Because if you read it from flip side, that means we can attribute partners to him in one of them. Maybe you would say that, yeah, he doesn't have any partner when it comes to his uluhiyya, his Godhead. But you might be attributing partners to him intentionally or unintentionally when it comes to his rububiyya, meaning his lordship. Maybe you are not taking any other God, but you are taking other lords than God. What would that mean, practically? Let's keep that question as well. I mean, in this first paragraph, we had a lot of questions now. So hopefully he will start answering those questions. So, and thus to attain to a sort of perpetual awareness of the divine presence. So at the end, what's the purpose of this whole thing? To have a constant awareness of God's presence. Because the first one was saying like, yeah, everything is his. But now this one is saying that, no, the Creator, I am constantly aware of him acting everywhere. Because if I can, like, this window is opens to the outside. So if I open it up, I see the sun in the morning. So from anything and everything, I open up a window and see the maker behind it. If I'm that much aware, then no problems in life, isn't it? So if I realize that I am being taken care of, somebody's completely following me, with me, I'm not alone, no loneliness, it would be very awesome. But if it is true, still there's an if, we don't know. It's a very beautiful claim, but it's a huge claim, what the author is saying here. Okay, so a reminder within the first point.
A reminder within the first point. O heedless worshipper of causes. Causes are a veil. For divine dignity and grandeur require them to be thus. But that which acts and performs matters is the power of the eternally besought one. For divine unity and glory require it to be thus and necessitate their independence.
So let's stop here. And before going any further, what's a cause? Just give a few examples for a cause so that we can have a clear picture what he is saying in the rest of the paragraph. Cause,
Ocean and rain.
motion and rain, cloud and rain,
Push and shove.
push and,
Pushing something.
oh yeah, so you push and it goes.
Mhm.
Okay,
Action and reaction.
Yeah.
action and reaction. So tree and fruit, DNA and replication, a lot of things, right? Everything happens because of cause. Like there are causes and effects. But now the author is starting with, "O heedless worshipper of causes." Have you ever worshipped cause in here? What does it mean to worship a cause? So we are now turning towards a cause and doing prayer. What does worshipper of a cause mean? Any example quickly?
Attributing power to something.
Say it again.
Like attributing power to something.
Yeah, attributing power to something like. Any example that comes to your mind?
Like the cloud. Bringing
Cloud bringing rain. So
doctors, medication.
doctors and medication. Okay, good. So if you are sick, what do? You go and pick medication, right? Shall you not pick medication? I mean, after today's discussion, since now it means, according to our chaplain,
Sunnatullah.
yeah.
Causes are sunnatullah.
So if anybody dies today, we know who is responsible. So, worshipping of causes, like we take medication, and if somebody asks, let's say you are badly sick, and you take a new brand medication, and now you are healed, and another person you see that is sick, and what do you say? Oh, this medicine is perfect. Use it and you're going to be cured. So to whom did I attribute the healing? To the medicine, right? So attributing power to something else. So this is what heedless worshipper of causes might mean. Or, since we are in university, let's give a touchy example. If you study, you are successful.
Sometimes.
No way.
So does that mean that you shouldn't study, or let's say, so let's say you are now excelling in the exam. So what do you say? I should study harder. So I mean, yeah, alhamdulillah is like, might be a memorized answer or might be a conviction, but we don't know. We don't know from outside yet. So when you study harder, what is your initial motive? Is it like in the example of medicine? If you take this medicine, you will be successful. If you study hard, you will excel in the exam.
If you overdose on medication, you'll get sick.
If you overdose in studying, you're going to get the Nobel Prize.
Whatever. You're gonna not sleep.
Anything can happen. So, who is the agent of success? Who is the agent of health? If I am saying that I'm successful because I studied hard, I am now healthy because I take this medicine. So I'm attributing things to causes. Maybe right, maybe wrong, still we don't know. But the author is claiming that it's totally wrong. Or, since the beginning, this is how, like the verse was saying that this is totally wrong. Everything is within our hand. Not in the hand of medicine, not in the hand of this or that. So today, again, a lot of questions. Still, we didn't come up with answers. We are digging. Okay, Abdurrahman. Let's read it from beginning again. O heedless.
O heedless worshipper of causes. Causes are a veil, for divine dignity and grandeur require them to be thus. But that which acts and performs matters is the power of the eternally besought one. For divine unity and glory require it to be thus, and necessitate their independence. The officials of the pre-eternal monarch are not executives of the sovereignty of dominicality. They are the heralds of his sovereignty and the observers and superintendents of his dominicality. Their purpose is to make known the dignity of power and majesty of dominicality, so that power should not be seen to be associated with base and lowly matters, not like a human king, tainted by impotence and indigence, who therefore takes officials as partners. That is to say, causes have been placed so that the dignity of power may be preserved in the superficial view of the mind. For like the two faces of a mirror, everything has an outer face that looks to this manifest world, which resembles the mirror's colored face and may reflect various colors and states, and an inner face which looks to its maker, which resembles the mirror's shining face. In the outer face which looks to the manifest world may be states incompatible with the dignity and perfection of the eternally besought one's power. So causes have been put to be both the source and the means of those states. But in the inner face, that of reality, which looks to their creator, everything is transparent and beautiful. It is fitting that power should itself be associated with it. It is not incompatible with its dignity. Therefore, causes are purely apparent and in the inner face of things, and in reality have no true effect.
Let's stop here. So authors claim at the end of this paragraph, causes are purely apparent and in the inner phase of things and in reality have no true effect. This is the bigger claim of the author. But if this is the claim, then why is there causes? And if causes have no effect, as he is claiming, if medicine has no effect, then why is there medicine on earth? If studying has no effect in the success, then how about the studying? Why is it there? Such questions comes into mind. But before that, let's talk about, he gave the officials of the pre-eternal monarch are not executives of the sovereignty of dominicality. What does the sentence mean? Executives of, the officials of pre-eternal monarch are not executives of the sovereignty of dominicality.
So they exercise, so the sovereignty belongs to, in this example, it belongs to the monarch, right? And they just exercise whatever the monarch told them to exercise it. They can't go beyond the scope.
So let's think about a real case. Let's say United States government.
Yeah.
So how many presidents are there? One.
Yeah.
So in his presidency, does he have a partner being a president? No. But does he
Vice
have,
president.
what's it?
The vice president.
A vice president.
Vice president doesn't get
So, yeah, but vice president is his partner, not in his presidency, but in something else. So in doing some other jobs, he needs helpers. He cannot, for example, post office is part of United States government. It's a governmental, what's it? Facility. So people are being paid by government. Who is paying their money? Some other official is paying their money. It's not the president is coming and paying their money, right? And even when you send a post to somewhere, the president himself is not delivering your post. Post office and the officials working in the post office is delivering your mail, right? So when it comes to executing actions, president has partners. Because initially we were questioning why did the author use those three words in his Godhead, in his sovereignty, in his dominicality. He said he doesn't have any partners. But when it comes to this existence, yeah, we say, okay, there's one God. We don't say there is another God, whatever. In his Godhead, let's say, But how about
So
executing things, sovereignty? Like gravity or apple tree. So yeah, God, nobody is messing up with him
Yeah.
being God.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actions, apple tree is creating apple or delivering the apple. So is this cause? Because apple tree is a cause, right? Is apple tree have some sort of an agency in there in doing the job? Or you, when you study for the exam, you're studying for the exam having some sort of an agency in your success. Does it or does it not? Big
Yeah.
question. What's it?
I mean, I feel like you being able to study and seeing some sort of result, whether or not it's a result that you want, it's agency. So it doesn't mean that it will give you the answer that you feel that you should get, but the fact that you can do that actually is agency.
Yeah, you are doing the action, right? So you are the acting agent in there, or God is the acting agent in there. Right?
so you're gonna ask questions.
So this is where things are getting tricky though. I mean, it's good that I'm just asking a lot of questions to trigger some thoughts. I mean, not to put anybody on the spot, but just to trigger some questions. These are the things that we generally don't question. So, for example, in here, it is very important to distinguish that having a partner in Godhead is one thing, but having a partner in Lordship is another thing, or dominion is another thing. Verse is claiming that his is dominion. But I might be unintentionally convinced that, no, partially dominion belongs to the apple tree, and it also partially belongs to DNA. Because if the DNA is corrupt, child is going to come into the world in an awkward way, for instance. This is what we will blame, right? If something bad happens, who are you to blame? Or what, for example, if a young man dies and you hear it over the phone, what's the first question you ask? How did he die? Was it a sickness or a traffic accident? Automatically we ask such questions, right? So what do we mean when we ask such a question then? Because we ask it for certainly a reason. We have seen each and every time a person either dies because of a sickness or because of an accident or this and that. But now this, in here, we are reading that they're not really agents. They're not really the doers. Then comes the question, okay, still it's something to think about. If they are not really the doers, we are going to talk about that. But if they are not the doers, then why are they there in the first place? What's the point of having a traffic accident or a sickness? Or, I mean, since most of us in here as Muslim, there's this concept of angels, which most of the time we don't know what it is really. But from our childhood education, we know that, and this is how I was taught in my childhood. Like Mikael is the angel which takes care of nature. Were you taught it like this, or what was me the only person?
Angel of rain.
Angel of rain.
That's right.
So as if Mikael or Michael is this angel which is sending the rain. Or Azrael is the angel which takes life. Or Israfil is the angel which blows the horn, and also as if blowing the soul, whatever. As if an angel doing this action. Are they really doing it or they're not doing it? What does it mean? Are they acting agents or not? But these are such questions that now this text is posing. So if they are not the acting agents, then what are they? Well, this paragraph was giving some hints about that. So let's read it again. Causes are a veil. What's the veil, first of all? Anybody explain what a veil is?
Curtain.
Curtain? Yeah. So
To hide something.
yeah, it's something, it hides something behind it,
Yeah.
covers up. This is one use of a curtain. And there's also another use of a curtain.
Keeps the light out.
It keeps light up.
Keeps the light out.
So in cinema, in the theater, there's this screen, which is also a curtain, but it's used for seeing something. Because you project something onto a curtain as well. So it's good for two uses. It hides something behind it, and it's also used for showing something. Whatever is being reflected on in cinema, when lights are on, is there anything on the screen? Nothing. Nothing is being if there's nothing reflected on it, there's nothing on it. So the screen is not the source of movie. Movie is coming from somewhere else. You just see it over the screen, right? So he was giving the example of mirror. We can think of mirror as a cinema screen as well. So if cinema screen says that I am a magical surface which shows or creates a movie, would you believe it? No, you're just a reflector. So the thing that is being reflected on you comes from somewhere else. So let's keep in mind these two roles of a veil. So, okay, causes are a veil. So author is saying that causes are a veil. So medicine is a veil, studying is a veil, clouds are veils. How? So for divine dignity and grandeur require them to be thus. But that which acts and performs matters is the power of the eternally besought one. For divine unity and glory require it to be thus and necessitate their independence. Can somebody explain this loaded sentence to us? It's a very loaded sentence. Any idea? Says causes are veiled because dignity, divine dignity requires them to be there and serve as a veil. It says divine oneness requires them to be not real agents. He's talking about as if two opposing things. One is divine dignity requires a veil to cover up something as if. But when you understand the truth of something, this cover needs to be removed. That's in the case of an accident. Death. Death is something bad. So cover up for death. But once you understand truth of death, the accident should be taken away because God's divine unity also requires that nothing else can give life or give death. It's all me. Again, we were talking about everything is in God's hand, right? Life is in God's hand or should be in God's hand. Death should be in God's hand. Death is also being given. Because imagine a rotting orange. It is dying. The death is also being given some sort of an existence. Right? Rotting, the act of rotting is also something that's taking place. It's existing. Is this sentence clear or not?
Can you talk more about why divine dignity requires there to be a veil?
Thinking of the verse
Can-
the unzalna hada Qur'an ala jabal, like, you know, where the story of Moses, right?
Mhm.
When Allah is like, okay, I'm going to reveal myself to the mountain, right?
Mhm.
So that's that removing of that veil.
Mhm.
And how the mountains like withstand.
Good. I'll come to that example. But before that, there was an example that made perfect sense to me about that. Actually, one of my professors told to me about this. He said his brother, after the high school, he didn't want to go to the university. So what he did, his father was a mechanic, so he had his own shop, mechanic shop. And he said, I don't want to go. His father said, okay, don't work in my shop. But his uncle also had a mechanic's shop. He said, okay, go and work in your uncle's mechanic shop. And he said, okay, I don't want to go to university. I will earn my life. But the father talks to uncle, says that when this guy comes to you, tell your workers to behave him so badly. Just curse him, just be very harsh with this guy. So he goes there. After 2 weeks, he cannot bear it any further, goes to high school, finishes high school. The guy that was being mentioned is now a doctor, medical doctor. So father is sort of using a veil. He wants to teach a lesson to this guy, but if he does it in his own shop, it's going to be like, my father is very cruel to me. But he's using a cover, saying, okay, go to your uncle's shop. He doesn't say that explicitly he is doing this stuff. But behind the veils, he's giving this guy a very good lesson. But once everything is understood, now this guy is a medical doctor. His father says, it was me who did it. He says, oh, thank you, father. You were truly doing something good. At that point, I was not able to recognize that it was important. It required a veil, because otherwise this high school kid would become an enemy of the father. Because at that moment, he's not able to see what the purpose is. What's the point? And such is human, right? We have sometimes those feelings, and we learn in time. So we just become very much emotional instantly. Since we are learning in time, we require some time to be given to us. And in creation, this is what's happening. So dignity, divine dignity, or in our example, father's dignity, requires this veil to be there initially. But then, once the child calms down, understands what's going on, then fatherhood or rulership requires that the child knows what was going on, so that he is going to come back and say, oh, father, I am sorry, I did a mistake. You were right, I should have studied. So you were right. This would be, using a metaphor, explaining what it means to have this grandeur of being in need of a veil. And then veil also needs to be taken away. So these two parts that we shall not forget. The veil should not stay there forever. Because otherwise, what would happen? There is a very detached father. Child is still trying to find his way through life, and he doesn't have a caring father at all. So he would never know his father. But once the veil is revealed, he says, oh, my father was always watching over me, looking after me, taking care of me. Although apparently he was not, actually he was. So the divine unity, or in this, of course, faulty example, fatherhood or the rulership of the father requires that the veil is taken away. So in our practical life, death is something very saddening to me. And once a beloved one passes away, my emotions are just rising up. I'm being very angry with death. So who shall I blame? The drunk driver, an easy target. Because at that point, if I directly see who is acting behind it, yet act with my emotions, what would I say? I hate God, right? Because if this in the example, if the boy break up with his father at that point, it would be very hard again for emotionally to mend what was broken up. This is how we are. And speaking from our own perspective, this is how we are. Once we break things, it's being really hard to put it together. So using these veils as if we are being given this opportunity. So out of mercy, things are being covered up. But I cannot keep them covered up forever. I need to release this cover as well. Yeah. And going back to the verse, because in that verse, if the revelation, so in the example of Moses, so when Moses was on top of this, in the cave, I guess, in the Mount Sinai, after 40 days, he asked from the Lord to appear to himself. He wanted to see the Creator without any veil. And the Creator says, you cannot see me directly without any veil, but I'm going to manifest onto a mountain. So look at the mountain and you will see me there. Then once the Creator revealed himself to the mountain, then the mountain crumbled into dust, and Moses, witnessing this, he fainted. This is how the story goes, right? So it looks the way that I guess we were talking about this in one of the khutbahs before. So what's happening in here? If I look at the mountain and the veil is revealed from my eyes, there is no more mountain in there. Everything becomes act of Creator. Everything becomes a manifestation of Creator. In our story, what was it? Initially, the child was thinking that there's this bad worker of his uncle's factory which is behaving badly to him. There's this other guy which is cursing to him. There's this other guy which is doing like this, a lot of things. So he had a well construction of his uncle's company, which is the horriblest place on earth to work in. But once it is unveiled, behind every single man, what is he seeing now? His father, his father, his father, because they are now, his father is acting in everywhere actually, in that example, metaphorically speaking. His father was trying to give him lessons through different examples. So once the veil is taken away, mountain, there's no more mountain. Everything becomes messages from your Creator, manifestation of the Creator. And once you see it, you become overwhelmed with it. Moses becomes overwhelmed with it and faints. So if I were to be able to receive messages from the creation and in that level, it definitely is going to be overwhelming. So this is how I'm understanding this mountain example. And yet, yes, in there, once the veil is revealed, same thing happens. Okay, so here, I will reread it again, and we are coming to the end of our time. Okay, causes are a veil, for divine dignity and grandeur require them to be thus. But that which acts and performs matters is the power of the eternal without one, for divine unity and glory require it to be thus and necessitate their independence. Now this sentence is clear, right? If this was an important sentence, I hope it's clear now. If not, good. The officials of the pre-eternal monarch are not executives of the sovereignty of dominicality. If they are not the executives, what are they? And the author says, they are the heralds of his sovereignty. This is the first herald. What's a herald? Any idea what this word means, herald?
One who tells the news and
Announcer,
Yeah.
announcer, right? So in the old days, when they were going to make an announcement, they had this drum. The guy was making the drum and saying that, "Oh, people, the king is saying that such and such." So this is an announcer. So the king wants to deliver a message, so he uses these heralds with the drum announcing everyone. So now the author is saying that causes are heralds. They are not agents doing anything. They are just declaring messages. Or you can think of it today's technology. Another example would be cinema screen. A cinema screen is not source of the movie. It is just a reflector of movie. Movie is being reflected or announced over the screen. So causes are heralds. And another thing he says, the observers and superintendents of his dominicality. What does this mean? Observers of his dominicality. Imagine a movie screen which itself is watching the movie. Because the movie screens, the cinema screens are unconscious things, right? In the cinema, when you sit there, you watch movie on it, so it's a herald for you. But the cinema screen, is it aware of what's going on itself? It's not. It's an unconscious being, right? The cinema screen is an unconscious being. But the author in here is saying that in this existence, all the causes are conscious reflectors. They themselves are observing what's going on. What's an example for that? Take yourself. I am a cause. I am also a cause, right? But let's apply the things in here to myself. Author is saying that you being a cause is nothing but being a declarer, announcer of God's dominicality. So you are not the source of any of the things. So for example, since the beginning of this discussion, I kept talking and you listen. So am I the doer of this speaking? The ideas that are coming out of my mouth, do they belong to me, or am I just a herald, like an announcer of something that comes from your creator? This is the first part. This is the herald part of it. The second part of it, I myself am observing what I am speaking. This happens a lot to me in the discussion when I am answering somebody else's question. I am thinking about this answer for the first time in my life as well. I am being the observer of what I am speaking. We being conscious, what we say, we are aware of what is coming out of our mouth. So the author is saying that everything in this existence is as such. An apple is a herald of what? It is announcing that there is someone who cares about you, who loves you. This is what an apple says, right? Somebody painted it very beautifully. Somebody who knows your taste, who knows which colors you like, who knows which smell you like. This is what it's saying. He's also saying that everything in this existence, there must exist some sort of a conscious being which is aware of what an apple is declaring. We will not go too much into this part in this set of discussions, in this term, but just keep that in mind as a question mark. When we talk about angels, when in the Islamic teaching, when Qur'an talks about angels, angels are what? Conscious worshippers. But when I ask the question, because over the years when we are having those conversations with people on campus, I ask the question, have you ever seen an angel? Then why do you believe in angels? How do you know that angels exist? Just because Quran says so? What's the point? I mean, I ask it like that. If tomorrow, they somehow, just hypothetically speaking, somebody comes and says that there's a new revelation. Belief in angels is cancelled out. Did it change anything in your life?
Actually, probably.
Really? Good. I mean, if it is changing something in your life, you're in a good shape. If it is not changing anything, if it's not changing anything, then that means it doesn't have much of a utility in your life anyways. If it doesn't make any change. This is how these mathematicians are proving that one of the basics is not necessary. They say that, okay, that's axiom. There are those 4 axioms. They say, okay, what if one of them is unnecessary? Let's take it out. If we can prove everything, then that means this axiom was unnecessary. Take angels out of the equation. If nothing changes for you, then that means it didn't have any utility for you in the first place. But what is it for? So this is just a hint. I'm just hinting. This is where it will boil down to. Everything in this existence being also aware of what it is declaring. This is the case for human. Human is conscious of what it is declaring, or at least have the capacity to be aware of what is being meant through me. But how about an apple? Apple, just an apple. So at a later time, I don't know when, we can discuss this topic, but keep that in mind, that author in here is implying, hinting that everything in this existence, all the causes, are such conscious beings, but not conscious to act, conscious to observe. This is what being an abd means. Consciously being a servant means consciously aware of my needs and consciously aware that my needs are being fulfilled. This is what a servant or a slave, servant of God, or Abdullah means. So when we say, yeah, everywhere is filled with angels, conscious worshippers of God, they never disobey God. These are all the explanations for angels that are being mentioned in the narrations. Author is saying that this is what it is. All the causes are such. But again, at this level, it is just a claim. So we should think about it. We should dig deeper. And next week, we will pick it up from here. So in those discussions, what we are doing is actually what happens when you go to Mecca for pilgrimage. So you turn around Kaaba. 7 times, you turn around the same thing again and again.
Okay, so we'll have 7 darses and then we'll move on to turning point.
So yeah, is it the same thing that you're turning around, or is it like a spiral that you are updating? It's not the same thing that is being repeated. So this is what we are doing. We started with Bismillah, which was beginning and end. This is why we said it's a summary and an introduction. So now we turn around the same thing, trying to build it up, inshallah. So let's continue from here next week. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.